Excellent. And I just set up recording, so we'll be recording this. Okay, who would like to kick it off?
Well, we have a question. I'll kick it off. It's Jenny.
Okay.
So actually during chapter at the Leadership Summit, we had a request from another area and we were more than willing to help to post a job posting on the job board. So It was my first time and I just kind of like, fiddled with it and got it to go to active, which was good.
Yeah.
I noticed though that once we had it posted, it automatically did an expiration date, but it didn't match what the offering was. So I wasn't sure if that was broken. I wasn't sure if that was an internal function and no one else could see it. But
so it would be like a posting expiration. Which chapter was this for?
Washington State chapter of NIGP.
Okay, is that WANIGP?
Yep,
okay.
They're there.
So if we go to jobs board. Was it any particular one?
Yeah, it was actually, I did it for the Port of Portland. So it should be if you go to the active, because it is the only one I have that's active. Unless someone else did something.
Senior IT
this
procurement?
One. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So it says expiration 3/15. It actually expires, I think the 3rd of March. So I just put it in the body because I didn't want to be responsible for them thinking it's still open.
Right. Yeah, and there's no way to edit that, is there?
No, I tried. And then I made a mistake of putting my title on the top instead of the job. So that wasn't obvious until I went, oh, yeah, they don't need my title. It's actually the title of the job. So maybe it should say job title. Yeah, right. So, but because it was my first time, when I hit submitted, I got, are you guys hearing that?
Yeah, I'm hearing that buzzing. I wonder what that's from.
Yeah, I'm like, who is that? I thought it was just me. Okay, thank you. So when I first, I have, first of all, my permission. I have all the, buttons alive on my control panel. When I hit submit, I got this automatic email from like the membership secretary that says, you have a job posting waiting to be approved. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I thought I had all that, right? So it's fine. So it went to submitted. And then I had to go back in there again and push it myself to get it to active.
Right.
So can you just maybe can you walk us through that approval process?
Right here is, we have it set. So posting requires approval. And as long as that's checked, then anytime anyone posts, then someone's going to get a notification about it. And you can specify who the contact person is who gets notified about that. But by default,
it was a membership secretary, but she didn't even know she had.
Yeah.
And she tried to look in her email. Oh, okay. So job board options.
Yep. Yeah, if you're in the job board manager,
and click on
configure.
Configure.
And then options.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you don't want to require approval, obviously just uncheck it. And then if you want to specify somebody else to get those notifications, you can specify them here.
Okay. All right. I'll definitely check that out. I mean,
we should probably enable this too. Member can edit post after approval. I wonder if that's part of the restriction.
Members can, yeah, because it's saying that me as a member, if I did not have all these powers in the back end, members are supposed to be able to do their own postings. So that would be hard if we have to manage it on the back end when they're saying you can do it. So definitely we'll check that. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because then they're responsible for it and we're not, right?
Correct.
So, okay. The other question, once it's already active, how is anybody notified it's active unless you stumble into my website? I mean, how does
Well,
that work?
you can
Is it
put it
my,
on the menu somewhere.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
great.
So like, do you have a preference about where you want it to go?
I would like to have it on our homepage somehow, so it's front and forward, or maybe even on the bottom where all the rest of our other stuff is, right there. Yeah, like in
Like
the middle,
somewhere in here?
like yeah, in that blue page that says view all, like in those little announcements there.
Oh, so this is part of the news module. So then
Oh,
what you
okay.
do is you
So
have
that,
to go to control panel communications and then create a new news article.
oh, gotcha. Okay.
So
Okay.
that's where those come from. But if you just want a panel,
Sure. Okay.
actually, let's make this like a 33, 33, 33, and we'll just use the center column. And we'll say jobs board. The posted jobs, or yeah, and you can go in and you can edit this later. But
Okay.
so what we'll do is we'll make this a heading 1. We will center it.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Save, make active, and exit. And now if you go to your home page, there it is. And I mean, you can doctor this up and make it look nicer. But
Sure.
then,
No, this is good. It gets your attention.
yep. And it'll take you right there.
Now, I also noticed there's a lot of things called default category. I mean, we're
Yeah.
procurement people, so it's all about procurement. So we don't need to be creating anything. We just kind of left it as default. Or
Yeah, a lot of these modules have default categories, like news articles has defaults, and emailing has defaults, and custom pages they all have defaults. But you can always change those. Like on the custom page manager, if you go to categories, you can add a new category and just procurement pages or something like that. It just you can create in every module. You can create its own categories,
okay.
or I don't want to say every module, but in many modules.
Okay. Great. Thank
Yep.
you. I have one more, but I'll think about it. It left my head, so I'll let somebody
Okay.
else ask that next question. It looks like Donna has her hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so mine's actually related to the job board, so I thought I would jump in. It's more of a piece of information than a question. So I don't normally do our job board postings, but I jumped in to fix a problem yesterday because we had done a job posting and the person from the agency responded and said, "Hey, I think the link is broken. It doesn't seem to link to the job posting correctly." And so I discovered that the field for posting like when you're setting up the job posting, the field where you put the URL has a character limit. And so I was able to make it work by tweaking, like I shaved off as much of the URL as I could to get a page that's working. And I even had
Okay.
to take off the HTTP :/ at the beginning in order to get a functional link in to fit in the box. And I did get it to work, but it seems weird that that field needs to have a character limit. So I guess, do I need to put in a ticket? Can I
Well,
just mention it to you guys?
the
Is there a purpose for that?
there's always going to be a character limit, right? I mean, we can make it a very high limit, but there's always going to be some sort of character limit.
Sure, sure.
The I think it would be helpful to know how many characters were in that string, but if it was that many, then chances are pretty good it's greater than 256. So, because that tends to be the default, is that we would go with like 255 or 256 characters. Boy, that's a long URL.
Yeah. Their system, like I said, I was able to shave off. It's one of those where
Just
the link
enough
she
to get
sent
it to
me had
work.
a bunch of right.
Yeah.
I pared it down until I got a working version of the link. But yeah, it was fairly long.
Yeah.
would it be helpful for me to like email that information to you, or?
Yeah, if you could, and then I have something to follow up with too.
Sure.
I'd
Yeah, and
appreciate
I
it.
don't,
Yeah.
like I said, you're right, it does need to have some sort of character limit, but some of these systems, like, they just generate a link that has a bunch of information at the end to like get specifically to the thing you want, and it,
Right.
maybe that could just be increased.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll email you. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
I think the physical maximum that we can go within our database is 4,000 characters for any particular field, but I can't imagine you're going to have a URL that's going to exceed that. But I do think our default is typically 256 characters. So they may have just taken the default. But yeah, if you don't mind, just email that to me and then I'll get that over to the development team.
So Michael, it's Jenny again, just to follow up on this. Again, would it be helpful, and I'm going to ask the group, that was my first time posting a job posting. Do you mind like looking at how I entered it and see if that's how you would like us to? I know it's probably going to be up to us how much information, but I think since we
Sure.
have the attendees here, it might be good to show off what that page looks like.
Did I go into a different? There we go. Everything just slowed down all of a sudden. Okay, there he goes. So, like, so much of this is dependent on what information you need for the job posting. That's why a lot of this stuff isn't even required. Obviously, the title of the job is required. How many positions are currently open, and you can create, the categories like we had mentioned, and then what is the name of the company? The organization that's actually looking for the open position. And then everything else is optional. If it has a red dot by it, it's required, but everything else down here isn't required. So it's all optional. So it really depends on how much information you want to provide. I think in general, when people are looking for open, to fill an open position, they look for, as much information as possible. But of course, you have to balance that with providing too much information, then they get lazy and don't want to read it. So I don't know, maybe that's a screening tool. If you provide so much information that they kind of chicken out of it, then they're not a good hire. I don't know.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. And then if you don't mind, since we do have folks that maybe might be interested in the opening, do you mind just showing that one job posting I had put in there? Because
You
I
want
did
to?
just click the view more.
There it is.
So this is kind of all that I was able to gather from one email I was sent. I just kind of did my own. This is sufficient enough to grab someone's attention.
Yeah.
And then when I did, if we want to test the apply button, it did work. And I was like, yay. Okay.
Yep.
There we go. Cool. Thank you for that.
Sure. Yep.
I'm going to pass it on to Stacy because I know she's got a question for our chapter.
I have a question about the job posting still.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, go ahead.
This is Kaliska. So in our previous system, if somebody would post a job in there, an email was sent out to the members saying, job X was posted, go ahead and take a look. We're finding that folks either don't, I need to educate more on our end, but they're not getting, they're sort of opting out of emails and opting out of that. And to be fair, I don't think they know that they opted out, but I was wondering if there was a way, once these were posted, if there was like an email that people knew to go and look at it. Because what I'm finding is people, like, it's on the jobs board. That's great that people post it, but they don't know to go look at it.
Sure. We don't send out any emails without people's explicit permission, right? So when they opt in, when they first join, they opt in to get blast emails from the organization. And then if they participate in forums, then they have to opt into emails from the forums. Those are the two platforms where we're going to send out a ton of emails. So we don't have anything like that for the jobs board. So your option, you can get kind of creative. Like this gets a little bit tricky, but if you go into the forums, let's say you want to send it out, you want to post it to the forum, and then anyone who opted in can get an email from the forum saying that they've got a new job posting. If we're handling emails for the forums, these are a couple of caveats that have to be mentioned, that we can actually set up an email address so that we would have a job posting forum and it would be job posting at whatever your domain was. Mm-hmm. And when you send emails to that email address, they get posted, and then they would blast out to everyone who has opted in to receive emails from that forum. So in order to get creative, then what you do is you create a member who has that email that uses that email address. So the member could be job posting member or something like that. And then they would use that job posting email address. Then when you're going to go to the jobs board and go to configure this contact person, that's the person you're going to select, so that when a new job is posted, it'll automatically get emailed to that member whose email address happens to be the same email address as the forum. So it will get posted to the forum. Okay. And then from the forum, then based on their opt-in status, they will get blasted out to the people who have opted in.
Okay, so we already have 5, I think, email addresses that they're free. So I have to decide if we want to pay for that one monthly. And then usually Ronnie has said not to create extra members because we have to pay for the extra member. That's nobody. Right. That's really nobody. Yeah. So okay.
The difference, well, with forums, you can add forum email addresses. They don't take away from your 5. So you can go ahead and do that. Which chapter are you with?
OPPA.
So let's take a look here. Everything is taking so long this morning. So if we go in, oh, you don't have forums enabled.
I may not. We found that forums were a problem. Folks were having a really hard time using them, so we just stopped pushing them.
So if you were going to create a forum that was for job postings, then what you would do is you'd say, yes, people can post online. You give it an email address, and that email address doesn't take away from your from your 5 that you're allotted.
Oh, so maybe I should put the legislative one there. Maybe that should go there, because he's the one that has the problems with that one.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But you have to be a member to post. So
if you're not a member.
Yeah. And he has to post it from the email address that his membership has.
Okay.
So if he's using if he has 2 or 3 different email accounts and he's trying to post from one email account, but that email account isn't on his membership profile, it won't get posted. It'll just be ignored. It won't even bounce. Okay. It'll just be ignored.
Oh, okay. So he has to include. So if we did a legislative one, he needs to include that on his profile.
No, he just needs to his membership. Whatever his membership is has an email address associated with it. Mm-hmm. So when he sends that email to this email address, it has to come from that email address.
Oh, I got it.
That is on his profile. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. But otherwise, I mean, you can just send out an email blast and link it to the job posting. I'm sure you guys are probably.
That's what I've been telling people to do, because it's just easier, because the forums is confusing to people.
Yeah. Especially if they're not accustomed to forums. We have a lot of organizations that get so much out of forums, and we have a lot of organizations who have no idea what to do with them because people just don't understand them. So just depends on your population, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to learn a little bit more about forums so we understand what it actually means.
Yeah,
Because in our chapter, we have a separate, I'm gonna just call it well, we have a Google group that still lives and is super active every day. And it's easier for people to talk to each other. So we
sure.
haven't been utilizing the forums, but I could see where it's good for probably committees more than member engagement.
Yeah, yeah. And you can set up forums that are just for, the marketing committee or the events committee, and they can communicate.
But you
And
have
then
to
they
be
can,
logged in to see it, or does it actually go to your email? That's my other
you,
thing. I'm not sure.
you have the option to determine if you want people to be able to communicate by email or by logging in on the website only. So when you configure the forum, you determine that.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yep. And you can change it later too, if you decide. And it's also, I guess, helpful to know that when you make a change to a form, if you add a new form or if you change the setting of an existing form, it can take up to 45 minutes for those changes to be reflected in the forum. I don't know
Good to
why,
know
but
too.
there's a 45-minute delay.
Okay, good to know.
Yep. So don't bang your head against the wall trying to figure out why your change isn't reflected in the forum.
Michael, can I ask another question?
Sure.
And speaking of, updating, when we update an email with the chapter, how long does it take to update it national? And is there something else we need to be doing? And that was a issue that came up yesterday. I had a member that I had dropped their previous email, and their new email is active, but they got a notice from national saying that their email was the old email and they needed to update it.
That's something I really have no idea because we don't
Mi-
sync with national.
Michael, I was just
Um,
going to answer that. Yeah, Stacy, at this point, that is a goal of ours, is to get to that point where there's a syncing, but right now there is not. So just like your old website, they'd have to update that in both places. It does not automatically transfer over to NIGP.
Good to know. Okay.
Goal,
And
it
then,
is it a goal? It's a goal. We're getting there, but currently, no, that is not what's happening at this moment.
perfect. I'm glad to know, because now I can let the member know that they can just go over and update it that way. Then I think one of the other questions that I have was when, and it's not me, I've just noticed this issue, but when we upload our newsletter and send it out, like when I get the link and I click it and it takes me to the website, I don't see it says not found, or then I just go to our newsletters and I can't find that one. So I'm not sure what we're doing wrong on that.
It depends on how are your newsletters being sent? Are they like a document, a PDF document that you're upload to the document library and then attached to an email blast, or how are they being sent?
Jenny, can you answer that one?
Yeah, Reagan's not here, she's out of the office, but the way I've seen it, it's attached like a link to an email that's supposed to open up a PDF.
Okay.
And maybe you could
So
log back into our page. I'm not sure. Because it is there on our webpage.
Okay, which chapter was that again?
Washington. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always like a glitch every time she submits it. Like we get all excited, we get the email and then we can't open.
Okay. So is it you have a recent one where that was done?
Yeah, there was a February one. Let's see. Well, it's on our website now, but do you need to see it on this back end or?
Well, not necessarily. Where are we putting?
So in that scrolling thing, the chapter news, I guess, earlier.
Oh, got it.
That's,
Oh, it's in the chapter news. Interesting. Okay.
I believe. Well, it was there. Okay, we do have a. Let me go back to where. So it's under procurement Wait, hang on. Sorry. Why is this not popping? Oh, here we go. Member benefits, newsletters. Member benefits.
It's under member benefits newsletter. Oh, winter 2024.
Yep. Might be working
Okay,
now, but
so that's a document in the document library.
okay.
Okay, so that's working. Now let's take a look.
Okay,
So
yeah,
this
before I
this
couldn't see
document
that
is
populate.
1296930. So let's go to the document library.
Okay.
Again, things moving very slowly for some reason. Okay, so where do we store those?
Oh, well, good question. I'll have to ask Reagan.
Newsletter committee, maybe?
That's yeah, she really uses a document library for sure. So that's probably
February 2024 newsletter. There's the
Yep,
docx
that-
and then there's the PDF.
PDF. Yep,
Okay,
that makes
so
sense. Okay.
so now the link that they're using to build from for the emailing, you should be able to link it directly from the emailing by using the insert link tool, and it'll give you the correct link.
Right.
Or you can
Okay.
pull this. This would be the one you'd want to use if you were going to build
Okay.
the link yourself.
Okay.
And that would
All
be
right.
also the correct link. I just want to look at permissions here on this because this folder is set for members only, so that's good. And then the parent folder is set for members of a committee, the newsletter committee. So that's why people are having trouble opening it because
Oh,
this is
Okay.
the higher level of security than the one the subfolder underneath it. This takes precedent.
awesome. Okay. That
Yeah.
solved the problem then. Thank you. We'll let her know.
Okay.
Thanks, Stacy. And sorry, we took that over, but I've seen Patrick's hand up for a while now. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Patrick Levy, I'm with the Pennsylvania chapter. I just have a quick question. I'm setting up, to transition to the new website, and I
Is it
have
PPA? What was your
PAPA PAPPA.
.org?
Well, right now it's PAPA.
Oh, it's
ClubExpress.
.clubexpress.com. Okay, there we go.
My only question is, I have our membership, in an Excel book. Is
Yeah.
there a way to do a mass upload for that?
Yeah, you're supposed to send it to Ronnie, and then when Ronnie's going to process it, and then she'll send it to me, and I'll do the back end upload of it.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yep. So you must
think
be
that
getting
was
pretty
my only-
close to the, getting ready to launch, huh?
Yeah. I think once that's done, it'll be a slow transition because we have to wait with our current website. But as long as we could upload the members and then start putting info on there, hopefully the next couple of weeks.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to know.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Hey, Michael, this is Jennifer, and just while people are maybe thinking of a question, I certainly wrote down a note to follow up with Ronnie about maybe making a standalone session about forums and to how to use those a little bit more in depth and take advantage of that. That might be worthy of a standalone session on its own.
Sure. That's a good idea. I made a note of it myself, and then I thought maybe, I'm going to be at Forum this year in August.
Yep.
So I kind of wondered if that might be a topic we want to cover at that point too.
Sure, I agree.
Yeah, excited for Forum. Wish it was tomorrow, but great that that's happening. We're definitely signing up for that class.
I don't see any other hands up. Do we see any other hands up?
Question on surveys. I heard we use Survey Monkey because
Yeah.
we tried this survey and it's a little clunky. Can you
Okay.
give us tips and tricks?
The surveys it depends on what you're trying to do with it. The surveys and the ad hoc forms, they work very similar to each other, and that once you create it, then you start adding questions to it, and you can have a postамble and a preamble, and what kind of information you want to gather. But when you're building your surveys, basically you can have multiple pages. So the first thing you want to create is a page. So you'd say, okay, this is going to be page 2. And then when you create your questions, then you determine what page the question is going to appear on. And then we'd say, I don't know, checkbox list question, and we'll just call it, we'll say it's a checkbox list. And then, this would be pizza preferences. So this would be pepperoni, sausage, anchovy. Nobody likes anchovies, right? Ham, pineapple, so whatever it is, right? So you're building your questions, and then you have to have a minimum selection. So if you're going to require that somebody has to choose at least one, you have to have a minimum of one. And then if you want to limit the maximum number that people can choose, you can just set a maximum in there. And then if you want to allow comments are kind of nice if you're looking for feedback on options that you don't have, but you're allowing people to give you some more feedback that's outside of the scope of the answers you provided. And then allowing emailings is actually really cool, because if you say yes, then you can actually, in an email blast, refer back to that question and say, I want to send this email blast only to people who selected pepperoni as their answer.
Well, now that you explained that, it does sound like, yeah, the Survey Monkey is easy because you can plunk in the question, good to go. But this one's more thoughtful and intentional. Could we also add this as a session potentially at Forum? Because if we don't take advantage of all these benefits and features that we are paying, well, you guys are paying for us, then it's going to be underutilized.
Sure. Yep. I just
and
added
I
it to my
now
list.
remember. I remember now my question because I emailed it to Ronnie and Jen actually. Ad hoc reports.
Yeah.
I was, poking around in there, and I saw that if we wanted more than ad hoc reports, and when we're getting into dashboard, it would cost us money, and there's like 2 levels.
Right.
But I don't understand. There was not much explanation as to what that means, or what can we even ask for ad hoc.
Well, I'm going to go into, this is one of our test platforms, so it's ugly because lots of people bang on this. But this has the ad hoc reporting module built into it, so we can take a look. Oh, it got slow again. Okay, so this is basically ad hoc reporting. So if we go into like mine, then I have the option to, I'm going to create a new advanced, I'll just start. We have express reports and we have advanced reports, and then there's a bunch of other different types of reports that you can create. But when I go into advanced reports, then I have to select categories of information that I want to appear in this report. And the category, wow, this is really slow. I wonder if it's my computer. Anyway, so we select categories that we want to appear in the report, and then we just start building from there. Okay, so let's say we want, I want membership information. So we're going to take under membership. I want member addresses and I want member information. So we're going to add those and click OK. And now I can start building my report from all these fields that are under the member address field or category and then under the member category. So we have all these different things that we can select from and start building our field. So we can say, well, I want full name. I want to know their gender. I want to know their birth date if we're tracking that information. What's their member type, you know? So you basically determine what information you want to appear in these reports. And then you can run the report, which is also taking a long time. I didn't put
Well,
any
that's
column
what-
ratings in, but
Okay, well, that's trying to run.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at when I hit control panel ad hoc reporting is that it's just telling me choose your option, ad hoc
Exactly.
reporting 1 month trial, right?
Yeah.
Reporting basic is $200, ad hoc reporting with scheduling is $300 per year. It makes no sense to me what that really means. What
so
am I
if
getting
you
for 200?
if you
or
choose
300?
for the $200, you're going to get this module, which allows you to build reports based on all the information that we have available within the system that we collect on membership or additional member data questions or events, you know, event attendance or registrations, or, you know, there's all these different bits of information that we don't have reports necessarily built already in the system. So you can build your
Okay.
own and you specify
Right.
whatever data points you want.
Okay,
And so
helpful.
that's the $200 point. And then if you want the
Okay.
$300 a year point, the difference is the scheduling. So once you create the report, you can say, send me the data from this report every Monday at 8 a.m. and it'll just send it to you, or send it to these other people,
Gotcha.
or, you know, send it to the committee or whatever team. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. That's super helpful. Thank you for that. I guess my last question on this particular subject. So Jen, as we're doing our dashboard, do you think just what you're showing here for a short few minutes, will that help us with kind of gathering our data set?
Yes, it should. And Peggy and I are actually going to, so Michael, I think we talked about this last time. We have a chapter dashboard, which is different than this ClubExpress dashboard, and asks a series of questions. And what Peggy and I are going to do, Ginny, is meet in the next couple weeks to look again at the data that we ask for on our dashboard to see how that fits in with, Michael, your dashboard, and collecting that information, and then be able to give a little bit more information to the chapters about how you use what you have in your ClubExpress data to fill out that. So we're going to make that connection, but Peggy and I just need to map that over, if you will. But yes, we're going to work on that, Ginny. And I believe it was with the Arkansas chapter already. He said that there were 2 very specific questions that he was able to map directly from their ClubExpress dashboard to fill out for the first time, and data they had never used or seen before. So that was exciting. So I'm going to get with him to make sure I know exactly what that is as well.
Very cool.
That sounds
Good.
great.
Yep.
That sounds great. And it would be good. So I did post that in Insight, and a couple of people jumped into my, question, and they said they found it a little hard to build the ad hoc. So I guess, Michael, that would be a question too. If we subscribe to either basic or reporting with scheduling, I think it would be great to have like a real training session separate for that ad hoc reporting, so we understand how to build it.
Usually
awesome.
that comes along with it. Yeah, because the ad hoc reporting
Okay.
module is a very different animal, and it wasn't developed by us. It was developed by a third-party company. And so, yeah, I think training would be very beneficial. It's not my forte. I know the basics about how to use it. So
Sure. Okay. That's also helpful.
but it's also important to keep in mind that you can extract a bunch of data that you already have access to. Like if you go to the chapter tab and go to data export, there's a lot of information in here that you can pull into Excel and generate your own reports as well. So if you
Great.
want, like, the third option here gives you a ton of information about that membership and that member. But you can also, like, if you're using interests, you can get interest history or committee members, or you can pull out your non-member database and take a look at the non-member database. And the same thing with the, money. If you want to see your user transactions, if you want to, get we haven't done it all yet. Slowly, as you go through and look at reports, one of the options in almost every report is to do a CSV export. Don't use that, because that is broken for most reports. What we're doing, though, is ultimately we're going to put all that information here in the data export function, and then you'll be able to pull that information from here. So this is a great wealth of information about the data that's in your website. Now, there's one other place to look too. If you go into the People tab and go down to Additional Member Data, you can also export the answers to all of your additional member data questions, and it's connected with that member's information as well. So you still get the member number, the member first name, last name, company information, address information, email address, but you also get the answers to all of their questions.
Awesome. Yeah, super helpful. You're right.
Yeah.
I think we should explore what we already have, so we're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, and so you're
Yeah.
not paying money you don't need to pay.
Yeah, no, I don't have to pay extra if I don't have to.
As much as we like the revenue,
Yeah,
So I also added that to the list because as we think about that training in person, if these are those hot topics that I think, to your point, we have it within the system to just learn how to better use it, that would be helpful. So I think that's one of those other, I have forums, surveys, and now reports in there that, we could spend some time on.
Sure.
awesome. Thank you. Stacy, go ahead.
Okay, I have a specific question. Can you go back into our Washington NJP?
There we go.
Okay. In last training, we learned about pulling in secondaries with primaries, and we had a new person come in, and I put them in as a secondary, and then they got a notification that their application for membership was declined.
Uh-oh.
And now the primary is having trouble getting in to pay any of the memberships.
Okay. What is the last name of the secondary member?
Secondary member is
Is that Vivian?
also the email. This is under Holly Smith. It was Velarde. What was his last name? Sydney.
Sydney Wright or
Villardes.
Francisco?
There's a Villardes and
Yes,
Sydney
yes.
Wright.
Yeah, Francisco Vallardes.
Yes. Yeah. So I tried to pull him under, and he was a pending, or not a pending, prospect. And
Okay.
I tried to move him under Holly, and then he got the notification, and she's having trouble getting any of them paid.
Oh, he's got two records. That's why. He's got a primary and a secondary record.
Oh, okay.
That's
Perfect.
why. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this one you can drop and just say it's a duplicate record. And then this one, it's currently under, if we look, it's under Holly Smith. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect.
Now she's got a payment due.
Yeah, and that was the other thing that she'd said, that she was having trouble paying it. I tried to renew my membership for me and my secondary members. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
The challenge here is she has two transactions for herself. She has her sign up transaction, and then she has a renewal transaction also for herself. So currently the system is expecting $40 more than what she really should be paying. So I'm going to go back into her profile and look at the transaction history, and it's gone. Where is it? Wasn't that for Holly?
it was.
Oh, it was for Sydney. That's right. It was Sydney Wright. Okay, so Sydney's in there twice. Okay, so we're going to go back to Sydney's record, because Sydney also has a sign up transaction. So we're going to go to her transaction history, or him, I don't know which. And you see this sign up for Sydney, right? We're going to get rid of this. Now, if we go back to Holly, right? Sydney's under Holly. So if we go back to Holly and look at the payment due, it's correct. It only has the one renewal for all 3 members. It's for Holly, Francisco, and for Sydney.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much.
Does that make sense? Because I went through that kind of quickly.
No, totally makes sense.
Okay.
Completely.
Good.
I'm assuming we're not the first that's done this before, so it might be an easy one to make a mistake.
Yeah.
That would be a good one for training purposes.
Yeah.
so
So
we can
when
avoid that.
when somebody gets added to the system's automatically going to create a transaction and try to bill them for being added to the system, right? The $40. So as the admin, when you add somebody, you're going to want to go in and delete that transaction unless they really do owe it. You know, I guess that's where it takes a little human thought to say, well, do they really owe it, or is this something where they've already paid for it and we just have to get rid of it? But in this case, because there was a renewal transaction for Sydney and a sign up transaction for Sydney, we didn't want to charge her twice for the same thing, or charge them twice for the same thing.
Great. I'll use that to troubleshoot because I'm also a member of the airport purchasing group, and that use chapter or ClubExpress format. And I'm a manager for the account, and my 2 members can't seem to be able to pay the fee. So I think I screwed up something in the back end. So I will apply the same principle. Hopefully, I can fix myself.
Could be. If not, let me know. You know, shoot me an email. We'll try and get it figured out.
Okay. So are you guys able to help with the airport purchasing group? I know it's not an
Well,
IGP, but
in support, we help everybody. So if you wanted to send it to support at clubexpress.com,
sure.
they can help you. But you know, for these purposes, you can send it to me too, and I'll try and help you figure it out.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I don't do a lot of support after we've already rolled out a club, because I have other clubs to be launching, you know, other NIGP chapters to be launching. So I think we have 11 or 12 active chapters that we're building out right now for NIGP.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that.
Yep.
I remembered a question that I had about event marking people as attending events.
Yeah.
So in the early, like this past summer, when we had just updated or adopted our new website, we were doing more of a manual attendance type of thing. We weren't using, you know, all the features through the website to mark attendance. And there's always people who show up that are members but didn't register, and so you let them in because there's not a charge, and you know, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
So how can I was curious about how to go back and add people, like mark people who attended, like if they were a member but they didn't register, if they maybe were expired at the time they came to the meeting, or they're expired now but they were active then, or what have you. Like as an admin, how can I go back and just sort of manually add people so that they show up as having attended?
Well, the system won't allow you to register them as a member if they're expired at the time you're registering them. So if they attended the event in December, but they were active members in December, but now you're going back and retroactively trying to add them to the event, you're going to have to add them as non-members because they're at the time you're adding them to the event, they're no longer active. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But in order to handle that, we got to make sure that we're tracking attendance. So in the registration and fees panel, we want to make sure track attendance is set to yes. And when it is, there's 2 different ways you can do this. So if you go to the event panel, if you're an admin, you have this extra button here that says mark attendance, and you can click on it and it'll show you everybody who is there, who's currently registered, right? If they're not registered, then you're going to want to go through the admin panels and click on the attendance button. And you have different options. And so what you can do is register and mark attendance for people who aren't yet registered. And then literally it'll give you a list of all of your members, and you can just go down through the list and say, okay, they showed up, they showed up, they showed up, they showed up, but they weren't registered. And then you just go down to the bottom, boom, and click save, and it will register them and mark their attendance. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And so then if that person like wasn't a member at the time, or like someone who was interested and just showed up, we would just have to add that person as a non-member
Right.
before they could be added as an attendee.
Yeah, well, the
event.
funny thing is, if they were a non-member at the time of the event and you're retroactively putting them in, but now they're a member, you can register them as a member because they're currently an active member. So it just it kind of throws off whether they were members or non-members at the time they attended the event, but that's the way the system works right now.
Sure. And I asked that question because some of the past events, I haven't reviewed each one of our past events yet to find out who's missing and who's needs to register and what their member status is right now. So I was just trying to get a handle on what the different options were and how I can do it. So if they're a member now and they were a member then, I can just use that last feature you showed and just add those folks manually, and it will both register them and mark them as having attended the meeting.
Right.
And then if they weren't a member at the time, or if somehow they're not a member now or whatever, but we want to record it, they would have to be entered as a non-member. So like if they're a current member but they were expired, I'm not going to be able to add it to their current existing profile.
Right. I guess you could if you really wanted that to be accurate on their membership profile, then you would have to temporarily make them active, right? You'd have to activate them, register for them, and then make them expired again.
Okay.
So you could do it that way too. That way it is truly accurate at that point.
Okay. As I said, I'm not sure how many people it impacts, but I figured that covers all of my bases, and then I can go back and review. So
yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. Do we have any other hands up?
Michael, I don't see any other hands.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we can leave a little bit early and you guys can go and continue on with your days. Otherwise, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks? It's 2 weeks, yeah.
Yes, yes,
for the
sir.
next office hours.
Yep.
Yep.
We'll have more questions then.
That's right. Yep.
Hey, Michael, I made those notes that I'll follow up with Ronnie are some good things that possible standalones or to tie into our face-to-face forum training. So
Wonderful. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Jen.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
you.
very much.
Bye.
Thanks,
Take care.
Michael.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Couple minutes. I have a couple of questions to ask you,
Me or Michael?
Michael.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Do you
yeah,
need
yeah.
me to stay?
No, it's
Appreciate-
not related to this stuff.
Prisha, I
Yes.
will